you obviously have to arrange your classroom a little bit differently to
Right.
meet the needs of the kids. So tell us what that might look like.
So in my classroom, I have a lot of different places where we can do whole group instruction. They have pods of tables together where I can stand at the front and teach to the whole class. We have a whole group carpet up here where we can all sit and learn together through circle time, through seated time. And then we also have a lot of spaces where kids can learn in small groups. So here you can see Christy and I are sitting at the table where I teach guided reading. This is also where I do a lot of my small group writing lessons. And by having this little kidney bean table, it really helps to have the kids close to you and meet with a small group of kids at one time. We also have a couple of sections where kids can work independently, either at their desk or in this iPad little center over here. There's a classroom library, and there's lots of different seating opportunities for them. There's tiny rocking chairs, there's little milk crate boxes, and I also have a lot of bath mats where if they need to pull it out onto the floor to give themselves some space, that's what they do. So
there's a lot of flexible seating based on the needs.
yes. So obviously there's their desk that they sit at every morning, but during our learning time they can move anywhere.
Great.
Okay.
Because I've been in your classroom a lot, and I just know how you are as an individual, being able to have things organized definitely help with classroom management and being prepared. You're naturally like that.
Right.
But when you think about from when you were in college and when you were a student teacher and you think about all of the things that go in to an effective lesson, how does classroom management really play into that? And what's your approach to that helps you with your instruction?
Right, well, with that organizational piece, the more prepared that you are for each day, I have everything lined out by hour because there is no downtime in between each thing. The downtime is when the kids don't really know what's going on, and that's when they kind of start acting out. But as for classroom management, 3 words: loving but firm. Your students have to know. They have to know. They're not second guessing ever that you love them, each and every one of them. Even your hardest student, who you redirect thousands and thousands times a day, he leaves my classroom every day, or she leaves my classroom every day, knowing that I love them. And by building that mutual respect and that relationship from day one in the classroom, that mutual respect kind of sets itself up for a successful school year. And then with my classroom management, at the beginning of the year, we'd go over expectations really, really in depth. So what does it look like to do something as simple as sit in your desk? Your feet are on the floor, you're facing forward, your back is straight, we're not bending backwards in our chairs. And that's modeled by the teacher, and then the kindergartners go practice. And then it kind of moves into their hands. Who wants to be the leader? You show me how it's done. Now everybody go try, just like this student did. And then this isn't just a beginning of the school year thing. We do this all year. So we are consistently going over expectations. We are consistently practicing. We are consistently going over what it looks like to sit on the carpet, what it looks like to work at our desks. And through revisiting those expectations all school year, it really helps the kids to be reminded what's expected of them and holding those expectations accountable all the time. So in my classroom, I use a clip chart. And Alan, it is right over there. Each day, all the kids start in the middle of the clip chart, and as they are seen doing good things throughout the school day, their clips can move up, and then if they need redirected ever, their clips do move down. And as an incentive for them to get to the top level of our behavior chart, if they are on the top level purple that says awesome day, every day in the month, they get to eat lunch with me in the classroom. And that is just the coolest thing when you're 5 years old. And so I know that that's hard for some students to achieve. So we also have whole class goals too. If we are all on purple just for one day, we earn a magnet that's up in the corner of the whiteboard there, and we work towards a whole class party so that each child can be celebrated for little successes as well as big successes when they get their personal goals and their whole class goals. So really celebrating the kids doing good things and focusing on the good and making sure that the good is being reinforced daily.
And so, looking around at your classroom, how do you arrange your classroom and organize to support the approach that you have?
I organize it so they can work in groups pretty effectively when they need to. I like to give them that time to work, to kind of team up and use that approach. You'll notice that kids are everywhere. We're on the floor.
So a lot of flexible
We do a
seating.
lot of,
Okay.
yeah.
Give us a description of what your approach is with your classroom management strategies.
I take a very positive classroom management approach. I don't do pull a ticket or anything like that. We don't have any ladders. It's just very natural, and I just kind of treat them like I would treat my own children. If there's an issue, we address it right away. It's pretty basic, but it seems to work. If they're busy, they're usually behaving. So.
Okay. So one of the things that we talk a lot about with our students is classroom management. And so when you think about the skills that you have, what do you have that supports your approach to classroom management?
It's a good question. I would say classroom management, I still stand by. I think it's the number one thing in my teaching that I focus on, and the number one thing that I feel my gut says is important in order for the students to learn. Because classroom management involves a lot more than just disciplining the kids when they do something wrong. Really, it's kind of almost a culture of they're excited to be here, they're excited to learn, they're excited in this school thing, and because of that engagement, you have very few classroom management issues. Specifically, though, the strategy I use is called, it's the research of a guy named John Oliver. It's called like the ABCs of life, and his big thing is it's pretty much student self-regulation, and it's saying, and it's along the lines of the recovery model of love and logic, but it's saying, the student is in control of themselves, and I give them that power and that control to follow the expectations of my classroom. And the expectations of my classroom are to do your best to learn and not to disrupt others. And so giving them the power to say, okay, I'm noticing right now you're not in a great place of self-control. You're not in a great place for learning. You're not in a good place for helping this environment learn. And so you're going to need to take a second. You're going to need to get your self-control back so you can do the best learning you can do, and then join back in with us. And that alone is powerful then. It lets them regain their own control.
Yeah, it's giving them the self-control.
Yeah, and then relationships, I would say, on top of all that. The stronger I build my relationships with the students, the less any kind of issues I have, and the more willing they are to correct anything that they're.
So if there's something that's like the aha, or something that could be a takeaway, what would it be?
Maybe twofold. Maybe one, that it truly is, it's a rewarding profession to work with those kids and to develop the sincere relationships with them. And when you make that bond with the kids, they love you and you love them, and you want the best for them, and you want to do everything you can for them. But along with that, it's the hard work and the dedication that you have to put in as a teacher, and know that to be the best, to be what you want to be and help the kids the best that you can, you've got to be willing to work hard, and you've got to be willing to give it for the kids. And when you do that, you'll feel good about it.
So then describe your approach with classroom management.
I am fortunate to have a very special group of kids this year. They could run this class if they want to do all by themselves. Building that foundation and that relationship at the beginning of the year, though, is so important to me. And having that open communication with parents, so the kids know it won't leave this classroom without parents knowing what you did today. They know about their choices and what they did, and I put that on the kids. You have consequences for what you chose to do today. So I use clip chart. Whether they clip up or down on the clip chart, and that is a personal piece. But then to manage their own, I use a wallet system, so they can earn money if they are on a good color for their clip chart, or they lose money depending on what color they are on their clip chart. They have class jobs, and every day one they switch jobs, and then they get paid for their job. If they were not doing their job appropriately, they get fired. So little pieces like that. But do you want to know about like pencil sharpeners, bathroom breaks?
We'll do some videoing today,
Sure.
just of your classroom environment.
Yeah.
But if there's something that really stuck out to you that you feel
Yeah.
is critical, because I think classroom management comes from obviously being in the classroom and being with your group of kids, and every year is different. So if
It
there was-
is. I would say the beginning of the year, that foundation and that relationship and setting those expectations. I have very high expectations for the kiddos, and they know that, and they stand to it. Subs comes in, and it's no different, and they run the classroom, and I leave my management book there for them, but they don't need it because the kids know, and they know what happens if they don't follow it. So developing that relationship with them and having that open piece, they know that this is their classroom, not mine. And if they disrespect it, then you're disrespecting your own rules. At the beginning of the year, they set teacher expectations for me, and they got posted on my desk all year long. It actually just fell down when we were rearranging the room, but they make their own rules at the beginning of the year, and they're up the rest of the year. And then we say a class motto every day. So building that piece that this is our class and these were our rules, and if I break it, that was my choice.
Okay. All right. How have you organized your classroom to support your approach?
So students sit at tables, and so it's a very collaborative approach to thinking and learning. And so I have a couple of different areas where the students can be. Mainly their desks is where we do a lot of their work, but sometimes I pull them back to the carpet so we're nice and close and where we can kind of have better conversations. I also teach from the smart board, and sometimes I make them all squeeze in front of the smart board so they're closer and they can see. So because I like that collaborative approach, I've got lots of groups of tables, groups of desks. We do a lot of partner work, and so they're supported not only in their thinking, but also if they struggle with something or if they need clarifying, if they have something they need to clarify, they are able to do that with a group that they're comfortable working with.
Thinking about classroom management, and so give us an idea of what your approach is to classroom management, and then the second part is how do you set things up in your room, I guess.
Okay, so I rely a lot on the relationships I build with students, and I work really hard to allow them to trust me in order for me to be able to push them further. Fourth grade is really a lovely grade for me because I have a lot of sarcasm, but it comes from a place of love, and so they know that, and I really work hard for them to see that I'm kidding, or that they can joke with me, and that we have this kind of playful interaction, but then they do know the difference of now it is work time. And so I set that up by having as consistent of routines as possible. I have, in fourth grade, because we go to Teton Science School, we have adopted their kind of attention getting, which is the quiet coyote symbol, or sign. So I put my hand up in a quiet coyote, and they really work hard trying to quiet down and do what they're supposed to do. So I also have sort of an incentive for that because I have been struggling with them just really being very social and active right now because it is spring and the weather's nicer and they all turn into these kind of little jittery. Yes. And so they have the opportunity to earn 50 stones. And the way they do that is if everyone's quiet, we can put a stone in. If each group is working really hard, we can put a stone in for every group. But then once they earn 50, then they have a 30-minute reward of their choice within reason. So, but really I feel like it comes down to the relationships that you build with students, and they know how to transition, they know how to move around the room, they know where their materials are. So between a relationship and really organizing things and that consistency of practicing, I think that really makes for a strong classroom management situation. It works for me anyway, most days.
Yeah, most days. One of the questions that we want to also address is like with classroom management and how your classroom's arranged. And you mentioned briefly that also your kids are grouped because there's different challenges and strengths both with their social, emotional, I guess, behaviors. And so when you think about how your classroom's arranged and also your approach to classroom management, how would you describe those?
Okay, so let's see. That could be that feels safe to the kids and is an engaging place to learn. And so with that, I try to make all my decisions sort of based on that idea. And so if there is some sort of misbehavior, maybe a student is talking out or something like that, I probably overthink, but I think about, okay, so what did the student say? What was the purpose of it? And so if it is maybe inappropriate but related to the text, I might sort of think about, okay, so that's not a huge problem, it's a little distracting, but he's engaged in the text and that's really important to me. But he also needs to know that there are certain behaviors that are expected in the classroom, and so it's kind of a big balancing act as far as what I'll accept, how I'll address it, and that sort of thing. And then I'll ask, I'll think about the context, and so if there was a misbehavior, was it one student, was it a group of students, what was the task that they were doing, maybe the task was not relevant or engaging to them, and then maybe I would address it by thinking about, okay, so what can I do next year or tomorrow to make sure that those behaviors don't become part of the culture. But in general, with language arts, I think it's really important for the kids to find the content and the activities relevant. And so what sometimes happens is language arts feels a bit disconnected from students, and so doing everything that we can to make sure that that students are engaged through topics that are interesting to them, or creating products that are appealing to the kids. If they're able to show their knowledge through a different form, whether it's making a podcast or making a video or website or whatever, then I try to do that as often as I can to have some variety of the class. And so that's what I think is really important, is to honor the kids as people. And being in a classroom for 8 hours is just not natural for 10 and 11-year-olds. And so it's pretty amazing that they are able to follow directions most of the time. And so I would say that's my big philosophy with that, is to honor the kids and make sure that it's that how I respond to behaviors, what I do to be more proactive in creating those more positive behaviors, that it does create a safe environment.
The organization of it. So when you look around in here, I can see there's some flexible seating kinds of things, but there's also some independent spots. So just how you organize your classroom in general, how does that help promote what your beliefs are about classroom management?
So they definitely go hand in hand as far as the learning environment and the degree of collaboration. It goes hand in hand with classroom management for a lot of different reasons, but one is that the more the kids are collaborating and engaging, the harder it is for a teacher to control what is said in the classroom and to control the noise level, control the topics that the kids are discussing. However, I think that it's really important for the kids to engage with each other, especially for upper adolescents. They're more interested in what their peers think than what the teacher thinks. And so as far as learning goes, if I'm really interested and concerned with how they're growing as readers and writers, by deliberately choosing partners that will benefit as many people in the class as possible, I think that you've got this natural momentum, this social energy that can help the kids grow more than I could.
Yeah.
And with that, though, there are going to be off-task behaviors. There's only one of me, and when the kids are around the room in different places, it's not possible for me to necessarily facilitate every discussion and whatnot. But literacy, I think, is very dialectic, and so it's all about talking. I mean, literacy is communication, and so it's natural, I think, to have the kids talking as much as possible. But then you also have to think how to honor the introverts in the room too, to make sure that they're feeling safe in a talking classroom too. And so that's something that I kind of always think of and wonder how I can improve on.